So hi guys, this is Lisa from Pilatesbody. So we're going to start with a stretch today. Now for the last 10 minutes of class, we're going to do spikies and trigger point release. Don't worry, if you don't have spikies, you can sit down and relax or head off for the rest of your lunch break. But let's get started. So we're going to start with the feet nice and wide. So open those legs out nice and wide and turn out your foot and bring your hand down to your foot. Now again, if you can't get your hand to your foot, put your elbow on top of the knee, but rotate your top arm up and back behind you. So you're opening up that lower back. Reach that arm over your head, so you're stretching out your ribs and your shoulders, and bend your knee a little bit deeper into that stretch, so you feel the side of your waist right into your hips opening up. Slowly change to the opposite side, go all the way across, hand to the floor or elbow on top of that knee. You're going to push your hips forward towards me, you're going to rotate your top arm up towards the ceiling, and you're going to reach that arm slowly over your head. Nice big stretch. So again, bend your knee a little bit deeper into that stretch, pull the abdominals in and feel that pull across the side of your waist. So let's do it 2 more times. So all the way over, grab the foot or put your elbow on top of the knee, reach the top hand up, push your hips forward so it really opens up the side of your waist, take it over your head, nice big stretch. And then change the other side, go all the way across. So again, hand down, reach the top hand to the ceiling. And if you have balance, you can turn your head to look up towards the ceiling. But push the hips forward, reach it over your head, nice big stretch out. And then drop the hands down. So you're facing this direction. I want you to drop your back knee onto the floor. Now put your 2 hands together and either bend your elbows to come down to the ground or put your elbows on the floor if you're a little bit more flexible. You might only get 1 elbow to the ground, but just push your hips down towards that mat as deep as you can. And wiggle your hips from side to side. Just kind of open up across the hips, across the hip flexors. And let's change the other side. So same thing. You're going to drop the back knee onto the floor. Push the hips down towards that mat. Bend your elbows to get a little bit deeper or put your elbows on the floor. And again, you're rocking your hips from side to side to open up the hip, take the pressure off the piriformis and release across your SI joint. So let's bring it back into center. 2 legs nice and wide. Now you can bend your legs if you want to on this one. Put your left hand on the floor, twist the right arm up to the ceiling. Turn your head to look up towards that ceiling. So you're opening up your back. Slowly change those hands. Rotate, turning head, neck and shoulders, look up towards the ceiling. And drop those hands down. Walk your feet inwards. Pull your stomach muscles in and roll your spines back up. Roll your shoulder blades back. So 2 feet together, 2 ankles, touching hands on your thighs, chin to your chest. I want you to slide down and only go down as far as you can. Don't go straight for the floor. So bend your right leg and keep your left leg straight and feel the stretch coming up through your calves, your knees, your hamstrings, all the way up into your hips. And then straighten that right leg, bend your left leg. Don't force yourself into a stretch. Hold, and as you straighten both legs, squeeze your thighs together, roll the spine back up, roll your shoulder blades back and down. Bring your 2 heels together, turn your toes out, pull the abdominals in, go down, support yourself by holding onto your legs as you reach down. Looking at your knees, bending the right leg, keep your left leg straight. And then straighten that right leg, bend your left leg. Just open up those hamstrings. And as you straighten out those legs, squeeze the thighs, pull your tummy muscles in, roll the shoulder blades back, and then bring your toes together, heels out. Draw those tummy muscles in again. So slide down, hands down towards the floor. Support yourself by grabbing the legs if you have to, and bend your right leg, but keep that left leg straight. And then straighten that right leg and bend your left leg. Just open up those hamstrings. And as you straighten out those legs, roll back up, squeeze your butt to help you pull the spine back up, and then sit down. But this time, we're not sitting down, we're actually going to go into the knees on this side. So you're going to stay facing this direction, and you're going to want the kneecaps themselves, unfortunately. Now we're going to take the left leg out nice and straight and drop your right hand onto the floor. Now see if you can get flat hand to the floor on this one. Now check your balance, push your hips forward, take the top arm up towards the ceiling. Now with this top arm, you're going to reach it back as far as you can. So you're going to try open up your chest. You can stay looking up towards the ceiling, or you can keep your eyes looking in one spot that you don't get too dizzy. Then take that arm over your head. At the same time, lift that left foot off the ground. So you're activating into the glute medius and the hips, both sides, but you're also getting a nice big stretch because you're actively stretching through that foot and you're actively stretching through this arm, and you balance. Now, slowly dip your toes to the ground, dip your fingers to the ground, keep your elbows straight and your hips stacked, and just scoop your fingers along the mat And then roll the top arm up towards the ceiling again. So again, roll the arm back, open up the chest, keep your balance. As you reach it over your head, lift that foot off the ground, activate the glute medius, extend that arm, extend through your toes. Slowly drop the toes, scoop your fingers down, don't bend the elbow. You don't have to touch the mat, you're just scooping. Roll the arm up and back, open up the chest. Lift the leg as you reach the arm over your head, activate that glute. And then slowly scoop down with the hand, drop the foot, roll. We're going to do it one more time. So lift that top arm up to the ceiling. Roll it back as far as you can. Open up the chest muscles, breathe, nice big breath in. And as you exhale, float that leg off the ground and just activate those hips and just hold it here for a few seconds. Just breathing, extending those arms, extending those toes for 6, 5, 4, for 3, 2, 1, and change side. So let's do the same on the other side. So you're going to lean onto your left hand, extend the right leg out nice and straight, press down to the palm of your hands, take the top hand up to the ceiling first. Now, top arm, imagine you're holding a little tiny weight and just roll it back as far as you can, but just check your balance, make sure you're not hitting anything behind you, and then reach it over your head. At the same time, float that leg off the ground. So I want you to actively stretch it opposite directions and lift that leg to activate that glute medius. Now, as your foot dips down, so does your hand, but you're only scraping your fingertips off the floor and you circle around, back up again, and extend the arm back, open up the chest, really good rib cage opener as well. So again, float the foot off the ground. Yes, as you reach the arms, reach the legs, hold, do not wobble. Scoop the arm as you dip your fingertips to the ground. You're not trying to touch the floor, you're just trying to stretch down. Roll the top arm up. Roll the top arm back, open up the chest, nice big chest opener. And let's do it one more time. So you're gonna float the leg off the ground, reach the hand to that top wall, reach the foot to the back wall, lift that foot a little bit higher, and then brace your tummy as you start to dip the toes, scoop around, and then you're gonna reach the top arm back and roll it back as far as you can behind you. And just for funsies, we're gonna extend the arm and leg, hold that position. So just hold it here. So what I'm doing is I'm getting you to fire up the glute medius, this tiny muscle in your hip. Both sides are fired up, but mainly this top one. So you're just reaching and holding for 6, 5, 4, for 3, 2, 1, and then sit back down onto the mat. Shake out your wrist for a second, and let's roll like a ball. Now again, if you have any injuries to your back, you can just lie down on the mat. You can do little tailbone tucks to soften that lower back, or if you're comfortable, grab those ankles, chin to your chest, and roll like a ball. So you're going all the way to your shoulder blades, up onto your tailbone. So you're going to inhale and exhale as you roll. Inhale up, exhale. Draw your tummy muscles in. Do it again. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale all the way back. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, roll all the way back. Drop your feet back down onto the ground. Bring your heels to your bums. Sink the 2 knees all the way over till your knees touch the floor. And then just take the 2 arms up over your head and press your shoulder blades back into that mat. And just imagine your belly button pulling in away from your t-shirts. Slowly go across the other side. So your 2 knees press down to the floor. Allow that lower back to rotate, opening up all across that little low back area. And it gets very tight, very congested for a lot of people. And then slowly bring it back into center. So let's grab those long bands. Now remember, if you don't have long bands, as I said, belts and tights will do. You're going to wrap it over the right foot. So we're going to open up the right hamstring and do a roll-ups at the same time. So sit nice and tall. Grab the ends of your bands on this one. When your head comes forward towards your knees, I want you to press those arms back as far as you can. Now, even if you can't pull those arms all the way back, just pull in towards your ribs, but drop your heads down. Both knees stay nice and straight. So let's inhale, lift that leg up, draw your tummy muscles in, extend the arms out to the side, because I want you to work those shoulders. As you roll down, you're going to pull the belly button in, and you're going to press your head to the floor, stretch out the hamstrings, don't force it. You're still trying to pull the arms up over your head to activate those shoulders. So inhale, lift the head, exhale, kick the foot down into the band, let your tummy muscles sink in. Do not push these tummy muscles out. Press your heads to your knees. Try get those arms to go back behind you. And you're going to inhale, lift the spine, lift that leg, lift the arms up, get those shoulders to work. Exhale, go down. Don't go too fast. Go nice and slowly. Drop those heads, Pull on those bands, stretch out your hamstrings. Inhale, lift the head. Exhale, kick that foot down to the floor. Draw those tummy muscles in. Bring your heads towards your knees. Try press those arms back and imagine your neck muscles get nice and long here. So let's do another 2 on this leg. So float that leg up towards the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale, roll down the whole way down. The reason why I like using the bands is, yes, it does open your hamstrings, but also allows you to pull your belly button in better because you've got assistance. So as you're kicking that leg down, check your tummy muscles. They're not pushing out into the t-shirt. You got to pull those belly buttons in. So let's do it again. So let's watch the tummy muscles. Inhale, float that leg up. Look at your abdominals. Exhale, roll down. 1 vertebrae at a time, and then just stretch here for a second. Just open up those hamstrings. You can do a little bit of a sway from side to side. Imagine your hands trying to stay on the floor. If you have shorter bands, you're going to really have to use those biceps. But if you have those long bands, you're going to work those shoulders, and we're going to sway from side to side. And you're trying to keep the left bum cheek on the ground as you sway your leg from side to side. Now, let's change those legs. So let's hook the left foot into that band. All right, so again, we are normally going to go arms out nice and wide, but I want you to take the pressure off your shoulders and go to biceps. So if you have a long band, go halfway down. So take that leg up towards the ceiling. This time, pull with your arms tucked in like this, so you're working these little biceps. And I want you to roll down, again, draw those tummy muscles in, go all the way to the floor and do a bicep curl. So you're just going to pull, not forcing the hamstrings, just stretch them. Inhale, lift the head. Exhale, kick the foot down and check your belly button. Look at your tummy muscles. Make sure you're pulling in the whole time. So pull with your biceps, drop those heads down, stretch out your hamstrings. Inhale, float that leg. Exhale, roll down nice and slowly. Soften those lower backs, stretch the hamstrings. Inhale, lift the head. Exhale, pull the stomach muscles in. Go forward again. Don't relax your abdominals. Even when you're going forward into stretch, just stay a little bit active for me. So 2 more on this leg. So inhale. As you exhale, roll down. All the way to the mat. Pull with your biceps. Stretch out those hamstrings. Inhale, lift the head. Exhale, roll. Come forward. Let your back muscles open as you go forward. Pull with the biceps. Do 1 more for me. We're going to open up those hamstrings. Inhale, lift the leg. Exhale, roll down. Now go all the way to the floor. Use your biceps again. Pull with those bands. Same stretch for the hamstrings, just a different kind of force on it. So you're going to stretch your legs from side to side. And I actually can do this with my elbows on the floor. But don't worry, if you can't, just keep those arms active and swing those legs from side to side. This is really good for opening up the posterior chain from your hamstrings to the hips and takes a lot of pressure off your lower back. So let's do 3 more. Nice and gentle for 2. And then 1 more time. And then slowly bring it back into center. Bend your leg, release, bring both heels to your bum. And then take those bands and double them up for me. All right. So you're going to double them up to activate those shoulders. So slowly pull the right knee to tabletop. Now, if you need more support, push your lower back into the ground and print your spine. Okay, if you're comfortable, you can stay in neutral with a little bit of air between your lower back and that mat. So you're going to brace your tummy muscles nice and tight. We're going to do heel drops. So curl those toes up and you're going to pull a little bit of tension on those bands. Drop your right heel towards the floor. Now, even if you just do that, if you're just dropping the heel down just a couple of inches and you feel that's enough for my stomach, that's enough for my lower back, that's as far as you go. And then you pull back to tabletop. And then you press on the band to activate the shoulders. Exhale, bring that heel down. Inhale, back to tabletop. Exhale, activate the shoulders and slowly drop the heels. Now think about your lower back, okay? Check, when your heel drops down, does your back arch off the ground even further? And that compresses the disc in the lower back, and we don't want that. You're gonna exhale, bring the heel down and think about keeping the same position in the lower back on the mat. You're not flattening anymore, you're not arching anymore. But if you do need support, definitely tuck, round that back into the floor, pull your knees in past tabletop and do your single heel drops like that. Okay, so we're going to do 4 more like this. It's just controlling the pelvis. And what controls the pelvis and the lower back with these abdominals? So tighten, don't push out, pull in. Last 3, inhale, push out in the bands to activate the shoulders and it'll help to stabilize your spine a little bit better. Last 2, exhale. And just go slow. It doesn't have to be fast to be hard. If your head is sliding on the mat, it means you're losing that connection and your back is arching. This is our last one. And then pull those knees in. Wrap the bands over your shins for a second and just pull in with your knees and just rock from side to side to soften that lower back. Now we're going to roll like a ball again. So if anyone has any injuries, you're just going to hook the double band over your feet. And again, you're just going to stay here on the floor and tuck your tailbone. But if you're comfortable and you can do your full roll, do it with the band around your feet. So make sure there's nothing behind you, chin to your chest, round your back, roll onto your spine nice and slowly. Come back up. Do not let your feet touch the floor. So you're going to inhale, exhale, roll back. Inhale, back up onto those tailbones. Don't let the feet down. Exhale, roll. And let's do 4. Soften your back as much as you can. All the way to the ground. Coming back up for 3 more. Exhale, roll. Inhale, and coming off my mat at this stage. Last 2. And 1 more. Exhale, roll back. Stretch out those spines again by dropping your feet on the floor. So take the bands off your feet. Use the bands. I want you to pull outwards on your bands. And imagine doing a bow and arrow. Pull on that band as you extend the arms to one side. Your knees go to the floor the other side. And push your hips forward so it opens up across your waist and into that lower back. And you're still pushing and pulling on these bands. And then do the same to your other side. You're going to pull on the band like a bow and arrow. And you're going to roll the knees all the way to the floor. Try actively push the knees down. Actively push your hips forward to open up those lower backs for me. Good. And bring it back into center. So drop those bands for a second. So we're going to try hit those little obliques. And we're going to take the left leg, extend it nice and straight, and take your right knee to tabletop. Now, beginners, if you get tired, drop the right foot down. But right knee to tabletop. And we're going to start with the left arm nice and straight up over your head. The right hand goes behind your head because we're going to use this right elbow and actually go up onto the elbow because we're going to hit those oblique muscles. So we're going to take the left hand and we're going to lift the head, neck, and shoulders and reach the left hand past that right knee. So you're pointing at the end wall. And I want you to put this elbow on the floor and see if you can twist a little bit further. At the same time, pull in those 2 muscles and then drop back to the ground. Okay, so you're going to inhale, exhale, lift up and reach the hands past your knees. Extend, extend, extend. Inhale back to the floor. Very simple. You're going to exhale as you reach, go as far as you can. Inhale back to center. This time we're going to bring in the leg. So with this bent leg, you're going to extend it out nice and straight. So we're going to coordinate the body. So pull the knee to tabletop and then reach the hand across. Draw your 2 muscles and use that elbow as a pivot point. Inhale, reach the arm back. Exhale, so twist as far as you can. Open up those little rotators in your lower back. And we're going to do another 3. Extend as far as you can. Make sure you're pulling in. You're going to feel it right into those lower oblique muscles. Last 2. And reach as far as you can. And you're getting those low backs to open up on the opposite side. Last 1. We're going to extend that arm past your knees. We're going to reach for 3, 2, 1, drop back to center. Put the left hand behind the base of your skull. Take your left knee to tabletop and just reach the right arm back. So we'll just start with a tabletop knee. And again, beginners, if you get tired, drop that foot back down. So you're going to inhale, brace your tummy. On the exhale, reach up and try get your hand past your knees. Now again, put your left elbow on the floor, twist a little bit further. Go all the way back. It's just a design to get to those low back muscles to open up. So inhale, exhale. So keeping the elbow down will allow, I'm not going to call it a cheat, but allow you to adapt the exercise. So it just kind of gets those back muscles to open. It gets the rotation back into the spine instead of just focusing on the core. You're still working the core, but it's less intense and you can focus on opening up the back as well as kicking those obliques in. So now let's extend that left leg and let's coordinate the body. So pull the left knee to tabletop and reach the right hand across and you're pointing at that far wall and then you bring it back down, straight leg, straight arm. Inhale, exhale, squeeze all the air out. Feel that crease right across those tummy muscles. Inhale, exhale, reach as far as you can. Reach, go a little bit further. Inhale back to center. Let's do another 3. Inhale, exhale, lift as high as you can. Inhale back to the floor. 2 more. Extend and reach. Try get your elbow up as high as that knee. Let's do it again. Exhale, reach. We're just going to do one more for good luck. So you're going to inhale all the way back. Feel these hip flexors working. Exhale, reach and crunch up as high as you can for 3. Pull in those tummies for 2, for 1, and drop back to the floor. Release, extend both arms up over your head. Bring both heels in. Separate your heels to the edge of your mat. So walk your feet out nice and wide, and we're just going to do a knee roll. So you're going to roll one knee down into the center of the mat, and then roll the other knee down. It's really good for opening up those lower backs and just soften your spine, soften your back into that mat. And you're not going to, well, most normal people can't touch the knee to the floor. Some people can. It depends on how good the rotators are in their hips. So we're going to do 4 of these. Just soften that lumbar spine for 3, for 2 more. And then last one. Bring it back into center. Bring your feet back to normal hip position. Hands on the floor. We're going to do a shoulder bridge. So give the two muscles a little rest, but the shoulder bridge is for the glutes. Now, I did shoulder bridge yesterday with the activation bands, and I'm going to show you what it's like with no activation bands. But if you feel like you need them, definitely you can make a loop with those activation bands. But we're going to have the hands on the floor. You're going to start with the arch off the ground. So you've got about, say, the width of the tips of your fingers off that ground. And you're going to brace your stomach, so tighten your tongue muscles, and then you tuck, you flatten that lower back into ground. So you fold the abdominals in half, and then you roll the spine up. So you got to squeeze from the butt. A lot of people lift from the lower back, and that's why I like using the activation bands for those hips. It forces the glutes to fire up first. So when you come back down, think about pressing the rib cage down first. Then your lower back is the next thing to touch the floor. So you really got to tuck, and then your tailbone, and then you arch, open up that lower back. So you're going to inhale, exhale, feed the spine into the mat, and then roll it, peel it off the mat. So don't go for height, because a lot of people pop the rib cage up and that hyperextends and puts pressure on the discs in the back. We don't want that. So keep the ribs down, just go to normal height and think about pressing the ribs down. Get as much movement to your lower back as you can. You might be feeling this on the knees just because of the articulation of the tilting and the rolling, and it depends on how tight your quads are as well. So roll those hips up. Think about squeezing your bum. So every time you come up into height, maybe spend a little time checking your backside, checking that it's nice and firm. And you're going to press the ribs back down. Tuck in that tailbone, soften that lower back. 2 more bridges. So again, think about your neck muscles stay nice and long. Your tummy muscles are pulled in. So you're folding across the midsection of your abdominals. That's your TVA section. That's what you're going to focus on. Roll down, ribs first, fold across the midsection. Get that lower back to open up, because this is an active stretch for the lower back as well as an activation for your glutes. So last one, I'm going to roll those hips up nice and high. Roll up as high as you feel comfortable. Keep those ribs down. You're not popping those ribs up. You're almost trying to keep the bra strap on that mat. Squeeze those glutes. Check that you're nice and active. And just to fire up your hamstrings, the back of your hamstrings here, we're going to go up onto the tippy toes without shuffling your feet. Just go straight up onto your tippy toes. Feel your calves. And if you're going to cramp, it's going to be during this exercise. So we're going to pulse those hips, and you're going to squeeze those glutes nice and tight. You're going to tighten those abdominals down. We're going to do 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, burning, 3, and 2.5, and 2, and 1, and then we roll back down. Switch off those glutes, pull your knees in, and relax those hips. So rock from side to side to soften that lower back. Do a figure 4 stretch. So figure 4 is knees and tabletop. Cross the right ankle to the left knee. Now, if you do this one and your calf is sitting on top of your knee, it is not a hip stretch. It's not going to be any good to you. So put the ankle on top of the knee, reach down through your inner thighs. I think it's the best way to do it. Grab the back of that hamstring. Now, if you cannot get your head to the floor, put a cushion or a jumper or a jacket underneath your head, but pull in on that left hamstring to open up this right hip. And that's what we're stretching, the right piriformis. Now, some people feel it here in the back of the hamstrings because that one's just too tight for them. Some people feel it into the groin if they've ever injured that little area. But your emphasis is trying to get this muscle to open, although you might be feeling other areas. So rock from side to side. And when you rock to one side, you'll notice it opening up the hip a little bit more. So it's just teasing the piriformis into a stretch position, taking the pressure off the sciatic nerve. So let's change those legs. So again, ankle to knee, trying to keep your heads on the floor as you grab the back of the hamstring, pull in. So you're not just holding the leg there. I want you to pull it in towards your stomach, and then you'll feel the hip opening. And again, you can rock from side to side to soften right across the piriformis, right across that tailbone into that lower back, and releases all the pressure from your lower back. So having tight hips can lead to tight low back. So we're just trying to release them. Let's do 4, 3, and 2, and 1. Bring it back to center. I want you to roll like a ball just to soften your spine after shoulder bridge. So again, any injuries, stay on the floor like this, tuck your tailbones. But if you're okay, come up onto those tailbones, grab those ankles, make sure there's nothing behind you. Roll back on the exhale. Inhale, come back up, lift off that tailbone, exhale. So come right back up. You're not just pausing here at the back of the tailbone. I want you to get right up into the top of the tailbone, balance and roll back. And we're going to do another 3. Inhale, up, exhale, roll. 2 more. Fill up your lungs. Inhale, exhale. Let's do it again. Inhale, exhale. Gently come back up onto your tailbones and then roll over onto your fronts, guys. So what we're going to do is our Superman. I'm going to give you 2 options for Superman. The other one is the slightly tougher one. This is an option, using those bands. Now, if you're okay and you want to just stick with normal Superman, it is shoulders over your wrists, hips over your knees. You're going to brace your tummy nice and tight, and you're going to try to take one leg, it doesn't matter, one leg, one hand off the ground. Now, the only thing about doing this kind of Superman is a lot of people will lift and twist that lower back. And I know you don't have mirrors or camera side long, but you're trying to keep these hips nice and level, so you're lifting from the glute rather than across that lower back. And you're floating the arm up and not out to the side. It has to be up by your ear. You hold for 5 seconds, and then you change to the opposite side. So you extend. And so what we'll do, you know what, we'll all start with just a few of these normal Supermans, and then I'm going to give you no choice. You're going to have to use these bands. So you can extend for 5 seconds, and you're just checking for your stable hips and stable shoulders. You'll have one side that will wobble all over the place, and it just recruits the little tiny stabilizing muscles, and it gets easier. The more you do this exercise, the easier it gets, because it builds up muscle memory. So you're going to press. Now think about your back heel trying to touch the back wall, so it activates across that glute muscle, and your front arm is lifting up in line with your earlobe, and then you change. So we're just going to do another few of these. Extend, check. Can you feel your glutes firing up on that side? Do you feel any pressure on your back? Just means there's a rotation there. And let's do it again. Extend, press your back heel to that back wall. Squeeze your lengthening from that hip socket. Do another 2 for me. Exhale. Lengthen your fingers to the front wall. Lengthen your heels to the back wall. Last one. And you're going to press back and extend. Perfect. Release. And just give your wrist a little rest by sitting onto your heels and shaking out those wrists. So we're going to bring it more into, say, back of the arm sensation. We're going to take it with the long bands. So open up your bands and flatten them across the mat. Now again, if you don't have bands, you can still do this exercise. Instead of taking the arm forward, we're going to take it back to work the triceps. All right. So just for argument's sake, put the left hand on top of the band, take your right hand and go right down to the end of the band. Now you don't want this short. I right now have it really short and it's going to kill my tricep. Take it and make it a little bit longer. So when your right hand sits at your hip, it's not under much tension. So when you lift it up, really activates here, the back of the tricep, back of the shoulders. Those are kind of weak areas for women, okay? So we're going to have the right hand at your right hip pocket. You're going to take your left leg, just for funsies, extend that leg back. Now, if you find you're wobbling way too much, just drop that leg right back down. Doesn't matter about it. Just focus on your arms. So what we're going to do, if you're lifting the leg, you're going to lift the leg and arm as one. And you're going to squeeze the tricep, squeeze the butt. Tip your toe to the floor. Keep it straight. Scrape it up the wall. Scrape it down the wall. That's what you're doing with your legs. And you're just lifting the arm. And you're going to squeeze the rhomboids. And the muscles between your shoulder blades are the rhomboids and the trapezius muscles. And they're really good for keeping posture and keeping your shoulders back. So this exercise is horrible, nasty, but it's essential for good posture. So we're going to do another 3. Lift as you exhale. Inhale to the mat. 2 more. Exhale. Your eyes are looking straight down to the floor. Feel your tummy muscles just activating here. We're going to do it again. And we're going to lift up and hold this position. Think about your shoulders activating. Keep looking down to the floor and just pump the arm like this. So you look like a professional snooker player. As I always say, let's do 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release those arms. Give a little rest for a second. Set up your band for the other side. So flat bands. And again, if you don't have bands, you're still doing the same exercise. If you do have weak wrists, now I do have weak wrists. I always feel the pain across the wrist joint. Make a fist with your hands. So imagine getting your rings and pressing your knuckles, your rings straight down into the mat so your wrist is neutral. So that is an option. You can still trap the band like that. So take the band in your left hand, bring it to your left hip. I don't want to see the elbows bent. See my left elbow is bending up. I want you to straighten that elbow out so your arms are locked. Take the right leg back. Check your balance. One side will be crap. And you're going to lift that leg, lift the band. Brace your tummy. It's not about height. You're going to squeeze, pull in those tummy muscles. Inhale, tip your toes to the floor. So exhale, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Inhale. Feel your abdominals knitting in. So as you exhale and lift, feel your abdominals pulling in. Inhale to the mat. Exhale for 3. Inhale to the mat. For 2 more. Inhale. And then 1 more. Lift the leg, lift the arm, hold the tension in the shoulders. Keep your arms close to your hips, keeping the balance, and pump the arms nice and quick so you're burning that little tricep muscle. And let's do 6 and 5 and 4. Squeeze those butts for 3 more, 2 more. 1 more, and then release back down. Sit back onto your heels. Drop those heads down nice and low. Extend the 2 arms out in front of me. So just move your bands out of the way for a second. Extend the arms out and drop the foreheads down towards the mat. So imagine your ribs sitting down onto your thighs. Imagine getting your butts to your heels. Not everyone can get butts to the heels. It depends on your flexibility and your musculoskeletal system in your knees. So from here, take the 2 hands over to the right hand side and put the left hand down on top of the right. So left on top of the right, foreheads go down. Take nice deep breaths into that stretch there. And then slowly do the same to the other side. Reach across. Extend through your fingertips. Your ribs are opening up. Right down into that QL muscle into your lower back. Nice big stretch. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, bring it back into center. So we're going to do a swan dive. Now, a swan dive is to everyone's, different ability. We're going to go down onto the mat. Now, if you do have disc problems, I do have disc problems myself. I've got worn out discs, I have bulging discs, I have them all. But the only thing that's stopping the pain is actually doing the exercise. So we're going to take the elbows and tuck them into the rib cage, okay? You're going to keep your neck muscles nice and long. Now, if you do have a lot of tension to your back, only come up as far as your lower back likes it, okay? Some days I can only get this high because my lower back doesn't like it, but I have to keep those shoulders down away from the ears. If you're comfortable, you can go all the way to full extension. You can squeeze those butts nice and tight, and you're going to inhale, neck muscles nice and long. Exhale, come down to the floor. Now, it's just a stretch for your abdominals, so don't kill your back to the stretch. Inhale all the way up. Imagine your neck muscles nice and long. Exhale to the mat. Keep your necks nice and long on the way down. That's hard. Inhale, tuck your elbows in, neck muscles long. Exhale to the ground again. Tuck your elbows in. Do not let your shoulders come up to your ears. Let's do 2 more. Inhale up. Exhale down. And then 1 more. Inhale up. Keep those necks nice and long. Exhale. Now, just to decompress your back a little bit, bring your heels up and rock your heels from side to side. I'm crushing my microphone at the moment, but I'm going to get you to wiggle from side to side. Now, we're going to combine child pose to our little swan dive. It's a bit of fun. So, sit back onto your heels towards the end of your mat. With your 2 arms, reach them as far forward as you physically can. Get them to the top of that mat as much as you can. And then from there, we're going to come up into a push-up position. So when you're still on your knees, you're going to bring your hips in. My butt is sticking out. I want you to tuck your butt in. So you're getting ready to fall towards the ground. This is our push-up. Now, elbows come in and you sink to the ground and you're trying to get your chin to touch the ground first. Then you flatten the rest of your body. Then you do a swan dive. Your hands don't move. You inhale to swan dive, shoulders down away from your ears. You exhale back and we go into our child pose. So it's 3 kind of separate movements. Now we'll do it on the pace of our breath. So let's go forward into the inhale. Come up into push-up position, big inhale. Exhale to the ground. Straighten the legs. Inhale, swan dive. Exhale, child pose. All the way back. It's lovely. Get those shoulders open. Don't move those hands. Inhale, come forward. Fill up the lungs. Exhale, tuck those belly buttons in. Inhale, swan dive. Exhale, child pose. Stick your butts back towards your heels. Inhale, come up again. We're going to do 2 more rounds. Exhale to the ground. Inhale, swan dive. Neck muscles nice and long. Exhale, child pose. Inhale, come forward into push-up. Exhale. Last swan dive. Inhale up, neck muscles nice and long. exhale, child pose, sit back into child pose, switch off for a second, wiggle out your wrist joint because you do compress your wrist. And if you're sitting at a desk all day typing, you're going to get a lot of wrist pain. So we're just going to sit here, heads down, and you're going to wiggle out those wrists because we don't spend enough time taking care of our wrist joints and we don't want to end up with carpal tunnel syndrome. So you're going to wiggle those wrists and then take the two hands again over to the right hand side, put your left hand down on top of the right and drop your foreheads down towards that mat. Nice big stretch. And then slowly do the same to your other side. Take those arms across, reaching through those arms, opening up your ribs and your shoulders. And then bring it back into center. Now, roll onto your sides, facing towards me. We're going to hit a very specific muscle in your hips now. It's one of the rotators for your hips, really good for hip stability, but it's not usually worked on enough and it's not strong enough and it's usually not stretched out enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the two knees, bring them up towards the edge of your mat and then lift the heels up. So straight away we're in a rotation position. So you're going to start to feel on your hips. So you keep your feet together and you're going to inhale, open the top knee. Now keep your tummy muscles pulled in as you're doing this one because it's going to give you a little bit of support to your torso. Your shoulders and ribs, they don't roll back. You're actually keeping your shoulders stacked as you inhale and exhale. Good. Do two more like this. And exhale, one more, inhale, and then exhale. Now we're going to get fancy with the feet, okay? We're going to separate the feet like this. Bring your heel up. So you're going to rotate your heel, almost point it up towards the ceiling, but your knees stay down. And then you reverse it. Your knees come up and your heels go down. So your knees go down, heels come up, yes. And you go that direction. Now imagine just twisting a handle and then twisting in the opposite direction, okay? So you're pivoting from one point with your hip joint and you should be feeling these lovely little hip muscles giving out like crazy. So these are the tinier muscles that we don't really work in the hips and glutes. Really good for wrapping around the hip head and strengthening that area. So let's do two of these. And your heels together, and then one more, heels going up towards the ceiling. Now from this position, imagine you've got a drop of water on your heel, on your ankle. I want you to flick that drop of water off the ankle, and it's a lovely burning sensation. You might feel it in your TFL in the front of your hips, you might feel it in the back of the glutes. A lot of people feel it there, but we're going to do 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, and then you bring your feet back together. Now hold it there, still a gap between your knees, hips should be burning. Take this top leg and press it back. Now, you're not going down to the end of your mat. You're actually pressing the leg behind you. Now, pause there for a second. What I'm looking for is when you press the leg back behind you, that you're not turning your toes up towards the ceiling because that works TFL and hip flexor. We don't want that. Turn the side of your foot down towards the ground. And then you're going to bring your feet back together and then press it back. And you should be feeling here into the back of the glutes, okay? So your feet touch together and then you're pressing that leg back behind you. Squeeze your butt. Feet come together, heels together. Put your hand on your hips and your butt. And when you fully extend that leg, you activate your glutes. I can do this exercise and swing my leg back and forth and not really fire up the glutes. Still going to hurt the hips, but not the glutes. I want the glutes. So press the leg back, squeeze, activate here. Bring your feet together. 2 more. Squeeze that butt nice and tight. Pull it back. Fully straighten out this leg. Press it back. Hold it there in that position. Just drop your bottom leg to the ground. And just from there, look at your feet that you're not turning those toes up to the ceiling. You want to have the side of your feet somewhat parallel to the ground. And we're just going to lift and lower and just burn off the last bit of muscles in the glute medius, in the glutes, and you might feel it slightly down your IT band if you've got tight IT band syndrome. We're going to do 3 and 2 and 1, and let's change legs the other side. So grab those knees, roll up and over. We're just trying to create a little bit of balance. You're going to tuck your knees up towards the edge of your mat, okay? You're going to start with your feet rotating up towards the ceiling, so you're already into rotation. Separate your knees. It's our little kind of side leg series, just slightly tweaked. And you're going to inhale, open, exhale, close. Now, if your hips are cramping way too much, yes, drop those legs down, but continue opening with the clamshell openers. So we're going to do another few of these to activate deep into the piriformis. Do 3. That's it. 2 more. Good. And last one. Bring your knees back down. Just have a little gap between your knees. Lift the heel. Now really have to concentrate on lifting the heel because the brain doesn't work great on one side. So you're going to bring the heels together and then knees together. Heels together and then knees together. Good. And do another 4 and 3. Good. For 2 Now on your last one, just hold that position, because there's a little notification just after popping up on my screen. I'm just going to clear it so I can see that. Apologies. No, perfect. So keep it there in the position. And then we're going to do the kick back. So remember, kick back is very important. You're going to press that leg back through the heel, and you're going to put your hand on your butt and activate those glutes. So bring your heels back together, press back. If you don't straighten that knee out, you cannot activate this glute. You can kind of activate some of it, but not all of the fibers. Press the leg down through that heel bone. So imagine you're trying to kick someone that's standing in the back of your mat, and you're trying to press, and you're squeezing here from the butt. So do another 3. Think about pressing back and squeezing, and you're pulling those two muscles in for 2 more. Press back and squeeze. Good, last one. Press back and hold and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze that little butt nice and tight. Bottom leg, just let it rest for a second. Just hold it there. Think about the side of your foot just kind of rotating almost down towards the ground. Your heel and toes line up, or if not, get your heel to lift as high as it can. And then let's go up and down till we burn the last bit of the glute medius right into the love handles. And we're still squeezing that bum nice and tight. So check, activate those glutes as you lift for 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Drop that leg down. Just pull yourself back onto your backs. And we're just going to pull both knees in for a second and rock from side to side. Just soften out those lower backs for me. And I'm going to show you another hip stretch. It's a really good one. I'm going to turn this way for this. Now, not everyone can do it, but if you're doing this one and you're crossing the ankles, that is not correct. I want those inner thighs together. So you got to sit like a lady, cross those inner thighs together, reach down and try grab both feet and bring both feet into your hip pockets. Now, I know not everyone can do it, and I know everyone's cursing at the moment. So what you're going to do is, even if you grab your favorite foot, bring that heel down to your hip pocket, and then you'll obviously even it out on the other side. Or if you have your band, the leg that you can't grab with your hands, you can kind of lasso like that, and then pull in both heels. Really good for the small rotators of your hips. This is the really good stretch, but make sure it's not ankles like this. We can feel the gap in between your inner thighs. It has to be inner thighs touching. And you can rock from side to side and deepen the pull through your hips. It's a nice one. And then you change the other side. So same thing, you have to get your inner thighs. So cross right at your thighs, not at your ankles. Reach down, grab those ankles, pull your heels to your hip pockets. Now again, not everyone can get the heels to the hip pockets, but just imagine your hip pockets are here on your hips and they're not wearing, like as I said, you're not wearing a pair of combats. You're not trying to put your heel onto your thigh, and just hold that stretch, rock from side to slightly deepen the pull to those hips. Nice and gentle. Good. And then slowly bring it back into center. Now, grab your long band again for me. So what I'm going to do with the long band is wrap it over both feet, and we're going to print those spines. Just get you to be aware of your control on that lower back. Okay, this is a good one because you do have support with these bands. Go to the ends of your bands. And again, they don't have to be flexible. If you have belts, this will do the same thing. Or even, as I said, an old pair of tights. So if you're sitting in work and you have a pair of tights on, no band, you know what to do. So 2 feet together, and you're going to extend your hands to the ceiling. Now, this very moment, I'm trying to pull my abdominals in. I'm trying to keep my lower back on the mat. You're going to lift the head, neck, and shoulders up. You're going to look at your kneecaps. Keep those arms nice and straight. And you're going to lower the legs down just a little bit, even 6 inches enough. You'll start to recruit your abdominals. But a lot of people let the backs lift off the ground here. So think about your head coming up a little bit further, and you're going to try keep those arms nice and straight. And you just hold for about 5 seconds, and then you switch off, drop back down. Now, if you need more support, yes, you can grab shorter. But just remember, if you grab shorter, you use less abdominals. But just make sure your back is okay with this one. So let's take the legs up. Now lift the head. Now the only thing that keeps your back on the floor is your stomach muscles, okay? So start to lower those legs down, print your back, maybe curl up another inch, but pull those stomach muscles down for 5 seconds, and then switch off. Roll from side to side, roll your shoulders, shrug your shoulders. Okay, so let's do another 3 of these. So think about your back muscles. You don't have to go low. You're gonna lift those head, neck, and shoulders. If you're stronger and you've done my classes before, yes, you can go low as long as your lower back is still on the floor and you can still pull those muscles in and there's no pressure on that lower back for 3, 2, 1. And then you switch off. But don't think having to go low means you're that much stronger. It just means that your back is able for it. So don't go as low if your back is not able. Take those legs up. There's some days where I can't even get my legs past 45 degrees. So lower those legs, pull those tummy muscles down. So look at your tummy muscles. Hold it there for a few seconds. Breathe into the nose, out to the mouth, and watch your tummy. Can you hold in while you're breathing? And then switch off. Drop those heads, shrug those shoulders. Let's do it again. One more for good luck. So let's take those legs up to the ceiling. Take a deep breath in. Lift the head. Exhale, lower those legs. Look at your tummy muscles. Hollow your belly button. Push your back into the floor. Breathe in through the nose, out to them out for 3, for 2, for 1, and switch off. Drop those bands. Pull your knees in and just rock your heads from side to side. So you're massaging those little neck muscles, releasing the tension across the back of your neck. All right, so this is where we're going to do spiky ball release. Now, again, I know some of you are on your lunch break, so you might have to skip off and go back into work, and that is fine. The trigger point release is very important. Now, again, don't worry if you don't have spikies. You can just sit there and relax for this one if you want to. If you have tennis balls or these spiky balls, they're just balls with little tiny spikes on them. It looks a bit sadistic, but it's very, very good for the body. This takes a lot of pain out of your body, and it also takes and increases mobility to the body as well. Okay, so we're going to start with the hips, the glutes. The major trigger points are in the hips, the low back, upper back, and shoulders. So they're the ones we're going to work on today. We're going to take the 2 spikies. We're going to aim for the piriformis, which is usually the most overused muscle in the hips, the wide part of your butt. And you're going to actually start with your feet on the floor today. And you're going to rock your knees from side to side. So you're going to pivot from one hip, one spiky, all the way to the other one. Because I have a qualification in kind of sports massage. So I can apply it to this kind of part of the class where I teach people how to release trigger points or places of adhesions in the muscles. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to break apart the adhesions in the muscle. A knot is like a tight little fist, and it's going to pull on the fascia of the next muscle, the next muscle, the next muscle, and it's going to affect your lower back, it's going to affect your knees, and so on. Depends on where the trigger point is. So the spikies are designed to break down these adhesions. It's like a deep tissue massage that you get to control. You get to control the pressure, the position of it, how long you press on it. So we're going to go to the right-hand side. You're going to just sit there with your right hip on that spiky. You're going to take your right foot off the floor and throw it up on top of your left knee. So you're getting a little bit of a hip opener, but it gets the spiky in deeper to the hip, and you wiggle your hips from side to side across the spiky. Now, it sounds nasty, but I want you to find the trigger point. That's the area of tension. So if you have a little more tension at the back of your hip, put the spiky in there because you need to find it. It's just your body's way of telling you that there's something not working properly, and that's called pain. So we're going to try the other side and see how bad that is. So drop the right foot down, put the spike underneath the left hip, and you're going to push your 2 knees over to the left a little bit, throw your left ankle on top of the right knee, and you do the same thing. You're just going to wiggle your hips on that spike, and you should be feeling it right into the side of your hip. If there's pain there, it means the muscle's not working properly. If the muscle's not working properly, something else has to do twice as much work instead of that muscle. So it could be your lower back, it could be your quads, it could be your knees. Something along the kinetic chain is not working to the level it should be. So we're going to try break apart adhesions in the hip, take the pressure off the lower back, maybe take the pressure off the hips and the knees as well. Now, bring it back to center, drop your feet onto the floor. We're going to take the 2 spikies. Most people's trigger point area is low back. So we're going to try wide spikies in the lower back, right in here, into the lumbar spine. Now you can have your feet on the floor and you can just wiggle your hips from side to side. And that's actually quite nice. It's going to release and soften the fascia in your lower back. Or if you're not too sore, you can actually curl up into a little ball. And I know my guys who do have spikies and are well used to this, you guys can curl up into a little ball and rock from side to side. So you're massaging right across the QL. Now the QL goes from, say, your ribs to your hips. And that basically controls the hip level. So if your QLs get tight, it's basically a sign that you're sitting funny, you're sitting maybe twisting to the left a bit too much. It can actually shorten one leg. So if you're holding your legs up nice and straight and your QL is short on one side, it'll actually pull back on that leg. So one foot will actually be physically longer. And it's only to do with tightness in the back. You're not born with this. So we're just trying to release and even the pressure between the left and the right side. Now, again, if it's too sore, you can always keep the foot down on the ground and rock from side to side. But if you're doing it this way, make sure your butt is off the ground, because I find just arching the back, it kind of compresses the disc a little bit too much. So just tuck your butt and rock from side to side, just to soften that little low back area. Now we're going to go up into the other major trigger point, especially for people sitting at a desk or sitting driving all day. So you're going to take the 2 spikies up between your shoulder blades, so into your rhomboids here. And these are your posture muscles. And if they're not working properly, you're going to have rounded shoulders. So we're going to try to wake them up with the spikies, okay? So 2 spikies in between your shoulder blades. Now, if you suffer from headaches and migraines and tension and dizziness, all that kind of stuff, you're going to feel it here all the way up into the back of your neck. So we're just going to try release it and take the pressure off it. So starting with the arms across your chest, your head is on the floor and you're going to rock from side to side. Now, some people who have not gotten deep tissue massage before, have never done spikies or even trigger point release with tennis balls on the back of the shoulders, it can make you feel a bit nauseous, especially the worst offenders I find for tight muscles and so much tension are nurses, because they're doing so much heavy lifting, but they don't spend enough time releasing or taking care of their muscles. So they can feel quite nauseous quite quickly doing the spikies. But again, if you have a lot of tension here and you just suffer from migraines, this can make you feel a bit sick initially, but it does get better. It doesn't be like this every single time. Now, if you're doing that and you feel no tension, no pain in your trapezius, you can put your hands behind your head. You can lift your head, lift your hips off the ground. So you're actually rolling the spikies, the tennis balls, whatever's there, you're going to roll it in between your shoulders. Now, you do have dryer balls that, you know, we put in the dryers to keep the clothes nice and soft, but they are ridiculously hard. You can do some amount of trigger point release, amount of spiky work with the spikies that come out of the dryers, but they can be a little bit sore. You can end up a little bit bruised as well. You have to build up to that level. So we're going to release back down onto the mat, and we're going to go into upper trapezius. So we're going to go here, the very tops of your shoulders, that pull the shoulders up, and that holds a lot of tension. It pulls into your neck, pulls into your head, and that's where a lot of the migraines come from. So lie back down, get the spikies, as I said, the tops of your shoulders. You'll feel the meaty part of your shoulders. Separate the spikies. They're not exactly the width of your neck, just a little bit wider. And you're going to take your arms up towards the ceiling. Now you're going to do a shoulder bridge up. If that is too sore, drop your hips back down. With your 2 arms, you're going to rock from side to side, and you're massaging that upper trapezius. Now this is also a pressure point for your sinuses. So if you feel pressure across your cheeks, your nose, and your eyes, that kind of area, that's good. It's starting to release a lot of pressure from there. Now we've got to increase pressure. So you're going to inhale, take those arms back, exhale towards your belly button. Inhale, increase the pressure. Exhale towards your belly button. Inhale. And exhale. One more time for me. Reach the arms back. You got to increase pressure to release pressure. As you exhale, sink your spines back down to the floor. Drop your hips back down to that mat. Drop your arms and just kind of shrug your shoulders to your ears. Release all that tension. Now, take the 2 spikies, and this is the nice part. Take the spikies into the back of your neck. Now, if you have 2 spikies and they keep falling out, just use 1 spiky at the back of your neck. Drop the legs down. Drop the hands. You might have to hold the spiky with your hand, but you're going to wiggle your head from side to side as if you're looking over your shoulders on the left and on the right, and you're just going to open up the side of your neck. Now, you've kind of got 2 rods and muscles, 2 major rods up the side of your neck, and that's still part of your trapezius, and that's where the tension creeps up. So as you turn your head to the side, physically press your neck into that spiky, down towards the mat. Turn your head to the other side, press into it. Spend a second or 2 pressing into that spiky. So let's do it again. Turn and press, opening up the neck. Really good for anyone that's suffering from, as I said, tension. But if you're noticing that you're getting a lot of numbness in your fingers, your last 3 digits in particular, you can have a little bit of nerve compression from tight muscles. Hopefully it's something as simple as that, and this can help to release it. But if you've ever had an injury like from a car crash, that's probably a little bit more serious. Spikies might not be able to help you. So let's nod the heads now. So you're going to nod your heads up and down. This just increases blood flow. You're keeping your head on the spiky. You're not lifting your head off that mat. And then you draw circles with your heads out and around. You're just doing small movements. And then you reverse those circles. Find the tight areas right in at the back of your neck. And then we're going to push that spiky up a little higher. So just along the base of your skull, that is your occipital ridge where your neck and your skull meet. Now dip your chin to your chest. You're getting right in at the hollow at the base of your skull there. And do the same thing. Just turn your head to look over your right shoulder and turn your head to look over your left shoulder. This is a really good way to release the pressure or where the muscles and the tendons attach onto the base of your skull. So along that ridge, Now you've got two major pressure points at the corner of your skulls, the outer, if your skull has a corner, the outer side of your skull. So I want you to turn your head to the right and press your skull back into that spiky. Apply that pressure there for a few seconds. Let it open. And you might feel the pressure going up into your temples, maybe above your eyebrow or up to the top of your head. Just feel it. And then roll to the other side, go all the way across and just press in. So the side of your skull is pushing down into the spiky. Check, does the pressure go up into your temples, across your eyebrows, top of your head? And then bring it to center. Just nod your heads up and down. And you might feel a little bit of a clearing across your sinuses as well as you start to swallow a lot more. With your head, draw circles. And reverse those circles. And then take those spikies out. So that was a nice little quick set on spikies at the end. Now again, not everyone has spikies, but if you don't have spikies, guys, you can use tennis balls and everything. And again, bands can be swapped out. You can use tights, belts, whatever you have at home. If you ever need a cushion for support for your neck, grab a little cushion. But I hope you guys enjoyed that class. Any questions at all, leave it in the comment below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. So listen, have a good lunch break. Enjoy yourselves and I'll see you in tomorrow's class.